and welcome to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is Colin, and here with me is the doctor himself.
Hello.
As always, we're joined by our producer, Richard.
Ahoy, hoy.
This week, like every week, Dr. DC answers questions from listeners like you about the weird and wonderful world of DC Comics, and I desperately try to follow along in confusion.
That sounds about right.
You guys are dicks.
Thanks, bud.
All right, let's kick it off with some news.
Race car news.
So, Wonder Woman actor says Chief is a demigod. What?
Yeah, so in an interview recently, Eugene Braverock, who plays Chief in Wonder Woman, he was asked about this scene in the movie where Wonder Woman is known to speak many, many languages, and the only one that isn't like subtitled is she speaks very briefly in a Native American language with Chief, and it's not subtitled, and it's kind of just like a weird distinction to have made in the movie. So yeah, Eugene Braverock basically let slip that the character of Chief is in fact like a Native American demigod. So when they were speaking to each other, they're speaking like demigod to demigod. I mean, I don't think anything further is really going to happen with that. I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll let him show up in Wonder Woman 2 or something. He's not going to start showing up in Justice League, I don't think. But it's a neat little Easter egg, a thing in there for fans who like to pull those little details out. But beyond that, I don't think we're going to see much more of it.
That's fantastic. So, question before I bring up this next bit of news.
Yeah, sure.
What is the DCEU?
Right. So
is that the European Union of DC Comics?
Yeah.
Is there some like English ones and there's
so there's like DC Belgium and DC Liechtenstein.
So they're going to have the Dexit next.
Yeah.
Sorry, what would it be?
The Dexit?
I don't.
Come on, that was.
I mean, I didn't think Brexit would catch on, but it did. So
Dexit. Yeah,
I think it'd be. Wouldn't it be
Dekegsit? Yes. But
Dixit?
Dixit.
Dixit?
Yeah.
So
Gross.
what it actually stands for is the DC Extended Universe, which is how they refer to like the movie universe that they're building right now. So Marvel's got the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and DC has the DC Extended Universe. That's all that means. Yeah.
All right. Well, in news, is Drake Bell teasing a Robin role in the DCEU?
Yeah, I mean he is teasing it, but whether or not he has any right to is still like in question. He's like put tweets up that are like images that basically if you like said what the image was out loud, they say like Dick Grayson.
Gross.
Which is the first Robin, right? Yeah. God, come on.
He put up like the Robin symbol too, but then immediately took it down.
Yeah.
It's just Drake Bell putting up dick pics.
But you know what?
Twitter.
We've had so many.
Oh, that's good.
What I think is the bigger part of this is that I have no idea who Drake Bell is. So, I mean, from the image of him that I've seen, like, I guess he could passably look like a former Robin. But I know nothing about him. So let's turn this back on the listeners.
wait,
if you think he'd be good, tweet at me.
I know who he is. Hold on. Do you remember the TV show Drake and Josh?
No.
Okay, well, it was a Nickelodeon show. But anyway, so he's the Drake from the Drake and
The only Drake that I pay attention to is Drizzy.
He was also apparently in the movie called Superhero Movie.
I purposely did not see that one.
What do you mean? It's a superhero movie.
Yeah.
You love superheroes.
It's right up my alley. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he is in talks, or maybe he's just, messing around on Twitter. If you think he'd be a good like Robin or Nightwing, hit me up with hashtag Drake Bell yes. If you think he'd be bad, hit me up with hashtag Drake Bell no. We're going to get this hashtag game strong.
Are you kidding me? This guy was in the Fairly Odd movie, the live action one, so clearly he can play Robin.
Sold.
So we
apparently he was in Jerry Maguire too.
We no longer need
the
that
money?
hashtag.
He was. Show me the money. I'm here. Here I am.
Oh, that'd be a great voice for the new Robin. I feel like.
Oh, hey guys.
Mickey Mouse.
Oh, Batman. Oh.
He already has the pants.
The ear's kind of similar to Batman's ears. Yeah.
A little bit. Moving right along, the DC Universe animated movie collection is coming out this fall.
Yeah, they just announced they're taking all 30 animated DC movies and putting them in one box set. Which
for
is,
only $9.99.99 probably. That seems like a lot of movies for not... Like, there's no way they can make that an affordable price.
Do you know what? I'm just the
I know you'll pay for it
I'm just the
regardless.
kind of sucker to do it.
So hold on, how much was it? $9.99.
No, I'm joking. That's my assumption.
I don't think they've like announced a price.
No, I
but
looked
basically
for it.
it's like all of those movies that were like out of the animated series, so like Mask of the Phantasm or Sub-Zero or Return of the Joker, all of those, as well as all the other ones like Justice League Doom or Crisis on Two Earths or Under the Red Hood or, you know, like et cetera, through the new ones like Batman Bad Blood and like
The Harley Quinn
Titans
Batman
Judas
too, right?
contract. I imagine the Batman and Harley one will be in there. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, Killing Joke will be in there too.
I just like, why are they releasing these independent ones outside of that then? Like, because the Max of the Phantasm, we talked about that last episode, right? So
I wonder if, but that announcement came first, so I wonder if they like saw how
Stoked
ready
people got.
people were to spend money on a movie they already owned. And then
shut up
they
and
were
take
like,
my
you know,
money.
like we could just put all 30 in a box and make like $1 million. We'll finance the next DC movie.
these fucking dorks will take it.
Yeah. Who knows? Like, it could have been something like that.
Basically, you're welcome, DC. Everyone's listening to our podcast. And
Yeah,
they
clearly.
are on board.
I'll expect my residual check in the mail.
Black Lightning and Krypton are among the shows Warner Bros. Is ready to present at the San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah, so Black Lightning is the new CW show that's coming. It'll follow Jefferson Pierce. Black Lightning. He's a no, we're not doing the owl.
This is a character I'm not really familiar with. I was looking into this today, and who is Black Lightning?
So Black Lightning, his name is Jefferson Pierce. He's he's known as the first African American superhero to star in his own comic book.
Not Black Panther.
No, I don't think it was Black Panther. I think it was Black Lightning. But he is a teacher in what's called the suicide slum of Metropolis. It's this like part of Metropolis that I guess Superman forgets to like go and save people. So it's like this really kind of bombed out. It's like Hell's Kitchen. It's kind of got this sort of depressing sort of thing going on.
I'm going to protect the city of Gotham, except for
Okay.
Yeah.
Also-
so he has
the cast corridor.
So he has
of
lightning powers. So in this movie, not in this movie, in this TV show, he's been retired for a while, and then crime starts coming back.
So he's got a bit of a belly.
Kind of.
He's only out in the daytime or else you wouldn't see him at night.
Yeah. Oh, you can't.
No, I mean, like,
What?
'cause, dude, think about Black Lightning. If it's lightning that's black, you're not going to see that at nighttime.
Nice save.
Yeah, good save. Oh, Jesus. At any rate, so so that's coming out, and yeah, I mean, I don't really have an opinion on it yet. I saw the trailer; it looks passable. It's got that real like CW costume design kind of vibe to it. We'll see what it looks like. I don't think it's tied to like the Arrowverse. I don't think it's part of the same universe as the Flash and Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow, but we'll see. I guess they always reserve the right to cross over if they want.
Well, I mean, Supergirl, anyways, is not really part of that same universe. It's into like a.
It's so they cross over, but
Yeah.
she's technically on Earth 38. So her whole show takes place on Earth 38, and then every like once a season they're like, "Oh, we have to go to Earth 1," and then they show up.
Yeah, what I don't understand is like, isn't Earth 38 Earth 1 to her? Like, I never understood that they were like they just claimed it was Earth 1 and everybody was just okay with that.
This is a big thing in the comics about like the numbering of Earths, but it's really funny when you watch The Flash and like people will voluntarily give their Earth a number that isn't one. Like
that's what I've seen
at the end
yeah.
of season 2, the real Jay Garrick says, "I guess you'd call it Earth 3." It's like you just made your Earth 3 for no reason. But
Not even Earth 2. Like, he could have been like, well, okay, I'll admit this is Earth 1, but we're Earth 2. No, he's just like, 3. Bronze I'm okay with.
Is
Yeah.
no one vying for Earth 1 naming rights?
That's what I mean. That he just
Like,
he
did
just
they
took
not-
it and then was okay.
Do they not just battle it out every
yeah, I
year?
mean, like ultimately, as with the photocopier thing from episode 1, I don't think it's interesting to have issues of comic books or like episodes of TV where people are just arguing about which number Earth
I
they
want
are.
to see like an AGM of superheroes from all the different Earths, and they just cut, and the entire comic is just them around a round table discussing and just like vying, and there's politics.
What I will say is, in the comics, there is a definitive numbering system that is administered by people that don't live on the Earths. And I don't want to get like too deep into it because I haven't even finished answering this like news piece.
I feel like this plays into
But the monitors,
theme of this episode, though. So.
A little bit. The monitors are these like beings that exist outside the multiverse, and they designate the Earth numbers. So however people agree on it on their own, there is like an official like documented like Earth 13 is this, Earth 27 is this.
Is it kind of like a periodic table? Like things are just kind of what they are?
I mean, I guess if you want to think of it that way, yeah.
Where did you get that concept from there, Colin?
I don't know. I don't know.
Could it be from imagery in front of you?
Just like doctors and science stuff. I just put
It's definitely not from a t-shirt I'm wearing.
pieces together all on my own. Just all on my own.
So that was your t-shirt. You're wearing a lab coat.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I'm wearing a t-shirt under my lab coat and my nice pressed salmon colored shirt.
Okay. Does that mean Colin have an X-ray vision?
Yeah.
Totes.
So Krypton is
Why you keep winking at me.
Krypton is the other show that's going to be debuting. Krypton is interesting because it's about Superman's grandfather, and I believe that it actually takes place within the DCEU. Like this will be a canon backstory of life on Krypton before it blew up and Henry Cavill became a beefcake and saved everybody.
So wait. So you know how you love Superman? Yeah, he's got all these sweet powers and stuff like that. Okay, take away the powers, go back to his home planet where nobody's got any abilities at all.
But his grandfather hooks up with Zod's mom.
Oh damn!
So
now, okay, so in some of the
at least in the trailer, that's what it looks like.
So in some of the Superman like stuff that I've read, in some of them, like Clark's like family knows about Earth because they've been there at one point. Like I know Smallville touched on that a little bit.
Sometimes it's not necessarily that they've been there, but like made contact like through technology or know about it through like ancient Kryptonian exploration. There's like a few different versions of it. But
do you think that's going to play a component into this? Because I feel like if there's no like Earth part of it all, I don't know if it can survive as just like a thing on its own.
Yeah, I don't know. I would think not, just based on what the movies have done so far, because I think they pretty conclusively set up that Krypton had long abandoned space exploration in those movies. That's like a big part of that. So I'd be surprised if it worked its way in. I think it's probably going to be more about like the politics. You know, like what you see in Man of Steel is like that this council like doesn't give a shit.
Are we finally getting our West Wing superhero movie?
Yeah,
TV show. I mean,
super bureaucracy.
Yeah. If you have been waiting for super bureaucracy, tune into Krypton. Warner Brothers, please still sponsor us.
All right. So Kevin Feige?
Feige.
Is it Feige?
Yeah.
I've been calling him Feige. Why didn't somebody tell me?
I mean, I'm sure his friends are like, the Feige!
I've been calling her Crandall.
Feige, yes.
So Kevin Feige hinted at a DC, EU, and Marvel crossover.
Which is, I think, overstating it.
It's a loose approximation.
Someone asked him about the Venom movie tying into the MCU.
Have you seen that video yet?
I did, yeah.
Where he just looks real uncomfortable, like that lady just really kind of fucked him over.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I think that anything to do with like those rights and whatever they've worked out with Sony must just be like illegal, like shambles.
Nightmare, yeah.
So someone asked if Venom was going to cross over to the MCU, which is its own thing, and his response to try and dissipate it was to say like, "You could ask me, is Superman going to be there?" And I could say never. So like some people are like, oh my God, like JLA Avengers crossover. It's like, it's not going to happen. It will never happen. I kind of want it to. I would love to see it. It will never, ever happen. You might get an animated movie. They would partner for something like that. It's never going to happen on like the $300 million blockbuster scale.
I'm just saying, Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Has nothing to do with this.
I'm just saying they were able to take all of those Disney properties.
I see what you're saying.
And they took all those Disney properties and put them into one thing, and that was a logistical nightmare. So that's also
true.
Wreck-It Ralph.
That's true. And I mean, like, DC and Marvel have teamed up in the past for comic books.
Those are both
like,
animated things.
But like this high stakes thing of like big blockbuster films.
Well, Who Framed Roger Rabbit was actually only half animated.
Yes, thank you for the semantics. Colin.
Just saying, if we're going to split hairs, we might as well cut them up the middle.
I'm pretty sure that splitting hairs was Doom's plan in that one. It's gonna.
Oh yeah! Oh, look at you bringing it back.
Oh well, I tried.
All right,
But
Doc.
yeah, it's basically not going to happen.
All right, Doc, what are you reading this week?
You know what? I'm going to reach into my bag because I have to show you because I'm so excited about this.
This is the doctor reading song, getting
All right.
stuff from
Oh, sorry.
the bags all along.
Great song.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I won't cut off my amazing music next
That's a
time.
hit.
So
That song's a hit.
I have a little bit of a weakness for interesting comics, as you might imagine. I am nowhere near rich enough or famous enough to get my hands on an original Action Comics #1, the first appearance of
Okay,
Superman.
you got a doctor's salary, so
That's not nearly enough.
It's doctorate, I think. Doctorate salary.
Doctor-like.
It's paid by universities.
Yeah, I'm a paleontologist.
Very, very low paying job.
But I did get the 50th anniversary reprint of Superman's origin story in Action Comics #1, which is something I can actually afford, but it's still like a neat way to actually sort of hold a physical copy of the first Superman story. Like, I know I'm never going to have the original one. I'm not that rich, and I don't want the stress of that in my life either, of trying to like preserve and maintain something that iconic. But this way, I get it as part of my collection. I can have a look at it and read it.
have you opened it up and read it?
I have.
It looks freshly pressed and untouched.
I'm very careful. Now, the one thing I will say that's a little bit of a shame with the reprint is that it doesn't contain the other stories that were in Action Comics #1. Like, I don't have Zatara the Magician in there or things like that. But I have the first.
Can you buy those separately now, or?
I'm not sure, actually. I'd have to look into that.
And
I don't know.
and my follow-up question, when it comes to comic books, do you like, are you one of those people that like buy two of the comics so you can save one and read the other?
No, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I take very good care of my collection, but they're books. I have them so I can read them, so I can enjoy them. I got into comic books because my dad had things that he kept that he enjoyed, like stacks of like Justice League of America and Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes and the Flash. I wouldn't have gotten into comics if they were behind like a glass case. It wouldn't have happened. So I don't have that sort of.
So if and when you have children, are you going to let them touch your comics?
Only when they're old enough to like understand how much I'll disown them if they ruin them.
All right, son, you're 25 now.
The doctor
God.
has just taken off his white gloves from having put his 50th anniversary copy of Action Heroes
Action Comics #1.
whatever.
You had 2 of the 3 pieces of that right, so I'll take
So
that.
that's the first Superman showing up?
It's the first story ever.
What is the actual story?
It a little bit of his backstory, you know, that like the planet exploded, that he crash landed as a baby, the Kents find him.
That's like 3 panels.
It takes up about like a page actually. It shows there's a legitimate panel in this of Clark as a baby holding a crib above his head.
That's really
it came out in 1938. It's really funny.
They were getting to the point though with that. But it's
it's-
like, let's get through this part of the story.
But in these early ones, like there weren't super villains, like there weren't villains with powers. He's like fighting like crooks and thugs and things like that for the first little bit.
They show it like his friend Chloe and the other black guy, and
The black guy was playing Pete Ross.
Pete Ross, a real character.
Yeah, he's the IHOP guy in Man of Steel. Like the IHOP
International-
manager, like the guy that he saves when the bus goes in the river.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's Pete Ross. That's who that guy was playing on Smallville.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. So there you go. That's what I'm reading right now.
So I think then we have another segment coming up.
Oh, do we want to do this right now? Oh, I'm so excited about this. So I've wanted very much to like set something up for a future episode. So I brought a comic book with me that I'm going to give to Colin for him to read between now and the next time we record. And then I just want to get his thoughts about it. I'm not giving him any context. I'm not telling him anything about the character or the history or the story or anything. And I think it'll be like a fun way to explore like weirder corners of DC. So I'm just going to reach into my bag again. I need the music.
Reaching into his bag to grab another book. Gonna give Colin a creepy look.
Thank you, Randy Newman.
I could do a Randy Newman impression. I want to ask one question before we do this. Colin, have you ever read a comic book?
Do Calvin and Hobbes count?
No.
I mean,
Okay.
technically, but like a superhero comic.
I've never read a superhero.
Okay.
Have you ever like held a comic book like this, like an actual
No,
like paperback
are there
trade?
gloves I'm supposed to wear? Should I not have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches when I read this?
I have a whole binder of information I'll give you when we're
Can
done
I,
recording.
can I just like throw it on the back of my toilet and read it?
This comes with a
over
pamphlet,
there?
actually.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Is the book of instructions bigger than the comic book itself?
I'm actually going to need a security deposit before I hand this to you. So
I have this contract. Here you go.
the comic that I'm going to give you, Colin, is
I'm just signing my paperwork right now.
yeah, that's right. This comic is Ragman #1.
That sounds terrible.
Ragman.
I'm going to tell you nothing else about it, and we'll discuss it on the next episode. So we can just
Read
set
this
that aside
comic
for now.
with your hands.
Or with my eyes. It's not. Is it in Braille? Now I have to learn Braille too?
Well, you don't know Braille?
Well,
So-
not anymore.
You uncultured
It's
swine.
been a couple of years since I had to do some Braille.
When you signed up, you had no idea I'd be assigning homework, but yeah.
I figured the show was called Dr. DC. Pretentious people would usually end up.
He went to university. He likes homework.
Yeah. But yeah, so that is something to look forward to for the next episode, everybody. So Colin and I will unpack Ragman #1.
He has very kind eyes.
Read the comic.
That's the only thing kind about him.
All right.
Wonderful. I think it's time for questions.
Questions. All right, so we're going to the world of Twitter. Twitter. At G_M_Richter.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute. We haven't even talked about what the theme of this is.
We didn't get to that yet? Oh, oops. Too many pages.
Too many pages.
Too many pages.
I don't want to like interfere with your producing, but I feel like we have too many distinct theme songs.
The only way you know how to sing is like this.
Jazz hands. Okay, so questions. The doctor asked for some questions on confusing or frustrating retcons to... Well, okay, what's a retcon?
A retcon, yeah. That's a good
Okay, is it retcon?
retcon.
Retcon?
Retcon, it's short for...
It's a really great festival.
yeah, it's short...
Tons of great bands are there.
That's right.
The Weebles are there.
No, isn't it just about Clark Gable's character from Gone with the Wind? It's retcon.
That's right.
So it's short for retroactive continuity. So what that means is that, like in a comic book, writers are writing the story, and at a certain point, a writer wants to imply that something has been a part of the character the whole time, even though it's never shown up before or never been mentioned. So that's called a retcon. You're retroactively adding something to the continuity. A good example of this is for the first like 17 or issues of Batman or something like that. There was no like Alfred. And then one day Alfred showed up in the comic and they were like, oh yeah, Alfred, how you're always here. So that is basically what a retcon is. Yeah, I mean, like, I think we've got like lots of questions about those coming up, but I've talked a little bit before about things that have like really like altered continuity. So like those crisis events usually involve retconning, but it can happen without those sort of big like universe altering events. Sometimes a writer will just say like, no, like Green Arrow's always had like a secret island base, and then it just shows up and you just assume that he hasn't mentioned it for the previous 20 years of Green Arrow.
He's being really modest about his location.
I think a really good example of retcon actually is the Rick and Morty, the episode where it's literally only retcon.
Yeah.
Where it's literally just an entire episode of, you remember this guy? He's been with us the whole time.
Yeah.
What was his name? Mr.
Poopy Butthole, yes.
Yeah, Mr. Poopy Butthole. Speaking of which, can we please get some Rick and Morty season 3?
They're not part of the DCEU.
No, stay tuned. Stay tuned for Colin's podcast, Begging for Rick and Morty.
It's pretty short.
It goes really well with all the hundreds of other ones.
Yeah, that's right.
So we got a lot of responses on this retcon fiasco question. Reddit, I feel like, was the biggest explosion.
Well, you know, people have strong opinions. People are passionate.
Wait. People on Reddit have strong opinions?
Yeah, I know. Shocking.
This is groundbreaking information.
I think my grandma's on Reddit.
Oh, yes, she is.
But yeah, no, what I was going to say is that like people
are gone wild.
Jesus. No, people are like passionate. They have strong opinions, especially about characters that they like have read for a long time.
I'm just saying she has a lot of strong opinions on things.
I'm so trying to push through.
She's got a lot of things.
Yeah, so like when people change things about characters, people get upset. It feels sometimes like a betrayal or things like that. So I mean, like it was a little bit to be expected that I was like opening a wound when I asked people like what their most frustrating retcon was. But yeah, let's get into it.
Hey, people on the internet, do you have any gripes or any issues with anything?
I know for next time not to phrase it that way. Yeah.
All right, so on Reddit at John Desmarais wants.
I'm impressed you said that. I didn't know.
I'm fluently bilingual, so just saying.
Okay.
John Desmarais wants to know Hawkman in the wake. Oh, he doesn't want to know. I guess he's saying it. That Hawkman in the wake of this COIE reboot.
Yeah, so
there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, Hawkman has like a notoriously dense and confusing history of writers forgetting what the writer before them did. So in Hawkman's original incarnation in like the 40s, Carter Hall is an archaeologist, and he that version of Hawkman like reincarnates through history. He was like an Egyptian prince, and he shows up in like every era.
So is this the like character that's been in that was in the Flash TV show?
Yeah, he was on the Flash and Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow. Yeah.
Is that the one that goes with the woman too?
Yeah, with Hawkgirl or Hawkwoman. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So and they reincarnate through history, but then in the Silver Age of comics in the 50s and 60s, when a bunch of characters got revamped, I've mentioned like Barry Allen became the Flash, where before it was Jay Garrick. The same thing kind of happened with Green Lantern. Hawkman changed to be an alien named Katar Hall from the planet Thanagar, where they all have wings.
They still call him Hawkman?
Well, because then he comes to Earth and he's Hawkman. But he's basically like...
So they get rid of Hawkwoman?
No, she's still in there. She's Shira Hall, also from Thanagar. So they're aliens. And then, very weirdly and confusingly, over time, writers forgot which one was which. So sometimes they'd be like, remember when you reincarnated? And be like, oh, shit, no, he's the alien. And Hawkman got so confusing, even past something like Crisis on Infinite Earths, which is what COIE stands for, that for a while, DC had an internal policy of like, you aren't allowed to write Hawkman stories because they were it was too far gone. Every time they tried to fix it, they messed it up. So
why don't they why don't they treat it like Nintendo, where you have to go through an approval process to like put out comics? Like
because part of this is that I think like that the administrative infrastructure of the storytelling didn't exist for like decades and decades. Like the way that like where you have a chief creative officer and stuff like that exists now, like that wasn't the case in the 40s. There's just like
is
people
that the case
writing.
now? Like, are they going through those processes?
They are, but they still keep messing it up. So in somewhat chronological order, but only kind of. Golden Age Hawkman reincarnates. Silver Age Hawkman, alien from Thanagar. Crisis on Infinite Earths happens, and it pushes things that were parallel Earths. So Golden Age ended up being Earth 2, and Silver Age was Earth 1. It pushes those into one timeline. So all of the Earth 2 heroes, like reincarnating Hawkman, would have been members of the Justice Society. They would have existed in wartime. And then alien Katar Hall Hawkman would have been Silver Age. He would have been like modern era. So they made them like generational. And then they kept messing it up and like confusing the continuity. So then they had this event called 0 Hour, which was like, they called it Crisis in Time. So instead of it being...
They really love throwing around that crisis word, don't they?
It's like it means something very specific now in DC.
Hold on a second.
Okay, yeah.
Just hold on.
I was waiting for this. Yeah.
My brain is catching up to everything you've just said.
That's fair.
So there's crisis. Fuck you. So there's crisis on all this nonsense. But like, at what point... So the Flash guy,
use your words.
we figured his shit out, which was great. Everyone's content. Flash is 3 people. And then, but this Hawkman, they couldn't,
a lot more.
They couldn't get it figured out for Hawkman. Like, is he that meh? They weren't like, let's figure out Hawkman also while we're here.
It shouldn't have been that hard, but I think somewhere along the line, someone had the bright idea to try and like merge those different things together. Because
Just pick one.
But reincarnating is like an interesting story thing, and being an alien's an interesting story thing. And someone had the bright idea of trying to put them together.
He's an Earth alien. Like, no, just make him an alien, and then just go from there.
So 0 Hour, Crisis in Time, basically tried to like erase the JSA.
So
like
is
the
this part
Justice
of any
Society.
Of the other Crisis things? Like, is this Infinite Crisis?
It happens maybe like a couple of years after Crisis on Infinite Earths. And they try and basically get rid of those sort of Golden Age heroes through it. It doesn't fully work. It doesn't fully take. But basically, Hawkman is almost written out of continuity. Then he shows up for a bit in the 90s, and his wings aren't even like feathered wings. They're like these stupid looking synthetic things. It's that era of the 90s where like Rob Liefeld was drawing Captain America like 4 feet deep. Like it was a bad sort of era for that.
So was he getting his own comic books, or is these just him like jumping in?
Yeah, he had his own comic
So there was
books.
there was like a series of like however many issues of just Hawkman.
There's a Hawkman
comics.
series in many of these eras. And then they tried to fix it again with a series called Hawkworld, where they were like avatars of like hawk beings.
Oh my god.
And that added like a whole nother weird thing in there that didn't make sense. And then like you would just... And then after Infinite Crisis, the Hawkman that shows up after that is much more the reincarnated one.
I think you're breaking, Colin.
That one shows up all the way through Blackest Night, but then when they did the New 52 reboot, he was back to being an alien. He was Kadar Hall again. But now in DC Rebirth, he's back to being the reincarnated Carter Hall again. Like, Kadar Hall is dead, but Carter Hall's alive, but were they the same person? Like, it is still, if you have ever been a fan of Hawkman, this must make your blood boil, because it is impossible if you're brand new to things and you want to pick up an issue of Hawkman and read it, you will never figure it out.
What's the like draw for Hawkman though? Like
he's cool. He's this sort of like, he's like a real like old school type warrior, like a big kind of brute with these big like wings. He's a very impressive figure. He's got a very sort of old school sense of justice. Like Hawkman will kill people, like
biblical, like
yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Because it seems like the imagery with this like angel-looking man that they kind of would go with a sort of biblical concept.
Yeah, and then his like soft spot is that there's this woman that he loves through the ages. If you're doing the reincarnated one, which is the better version in my opinion. That he always is like looking for her and basically like they're being like pulled through time through their own deaths, which is like kind of tragic. So there's like a lot of interesting stuff in there, but it has been so messed up. So that's a brief history. Like I'm glossing over a ton of stuff.
Yeah, we're on question 1.
That's a super brief history of how ridiculous Hawkman is.
Colin.
I'm to the point now already with DC where I'm just like, you guys need to get your shit together, because there is just far too many continuity errors. I can understand why it must be just impossible, just any storyline, for people to just jump in. You know, like it's, unless you genuinely have the time and the energy and the excitement for it to start quite literally from day one, and then start moving your way forward with it, you're going to be lost indefinitely.
And that's a totally fair point. And that, I mean, that point you could literally say after my answer to any one of the questions we'll answer today. But if you like desperately want to get into superhero comics, Marvel or DC, frankly, and you're like worried about the continuity and trying to figure stuff out, you can quote unquote cheat. Like, pick up an issue, read it, get confused, go online. And
there's YouTube videos.
There's YouTube videos where people have taken the time to try and explain things. Or there's like wiki, like go to the DC wiki and read about a character, and it'll take you through, like, in this series, they were like this, and then they kind of messed it up, and they were like this. You know, like, if you want to learn, the info's out there, you can kind of work through it. But But I mean, yeah, I mean, that's its own sort of time commitment. So it depends how badly you want it, really.
You either read it properly or else you just go on Wikipedia and hope that no one goofed around with some of the information, because it's,
Well, don't go to Wikipedia.
Anyone can
go to like the DC Wiki or go to Comic Vine or something like that.
What's the difference between Wiki and Wikipedia?
Some really big mega DC nerds are running Wiki.
Yeah.
DC.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's you're going more to the source. Yeah.
All right, Colin. Question 2.
Question 2 is from
Comment 2.
Comment 2. About the most frustrating retcons. I keep wanting to call it Reticon for some reason, probably because Comic Con.
Because it sounds like it's a convention. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like a
And now we're on Reddit, so it's
stupid
RedditCon.
convention.
Yeah, I get it. No, I get it.
Ah, Redditcon.
Yeah,
there
yeah.
we go. Shut up. At XKJEKU.
There's a pronunciation, I'm pretty sure.
Ex-Kajeku.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I didn't want to be insensitive, so I thought I would just spell it out.
I've never had an issue with
Hope that the person at the back of the class would raise their hand and just say their name.
If they want to make an unpronounceable name, they shouldn't have asked their question or made a comment.
That's true.
Yeah, on Reddit, where, Anyways, Zexku wants to say that Barry Allen's mom dying and Barry creating the Speed Force.
Yeah. So Barry Allen, we talk about him a lot. He's a really central character to DC. He's the Flash. And he was the Flash for decades. And then in Crisis on Infinite Earths, Barry Allen dies, destroying the antimatter cannon that the Anti-Monitor was going to use to wipe out more universes. And he's gone from comics for 20 years. Wally West becomes the Flash. So for a whole generation of people, Barry Allen is not the Flash for them. If you grew up in the 90s, Wally is your Flash. He was the former sidekick.
Wally West.
The former Kid Flash, yeah. And then in 2009, I believe, a series came out called Flash Rebirth, where it revealed that Barry wasn't dead. He was trapped in the Speed Force, which is where he gets his power from. Speed Force is its own episode. I'm not doing it here. We don't have time.
I love that you pulled me on that one. Wait, what?
There's no time.
You know what it is? Is because I watched the TV show and I still don't really fucking know what the Speed Force is.
We could do release an episode a day for a week, and I couldn't finish Speed Force. So at any rate, the Speed Force is, long story short, where Barry gets his powers from, where speedsters get their power from. So he's been trapped in the Speed Force. He's not dead. And when he comes back, his history is different. His mother, who had always been alive while he was the Flash, has been dead now. She was killed when he was a kid by a man in yellow. The Reverse Flash.
You mean the guy who goes around with Curious George killed this guy's mom?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And he's been hiding in kids' stories for years.
But basically, yeah, Barry's history has changed. His mom's been dead. That's why he became a forensic scientist, and it's why he became the Flash, was to, give people justice and things like that.
What's the name of this thing that happens, though? But there is a name for it, isn't it? When he screws everything up and everything changes.
Oh, no, this is not Flashpoint.
Oh, okay, because in the TV show, they refer to it as Flashpoint.
But Flashpoint is where he goes back to stop his mom from being killed.
Oh.
So his mom gets killed by the Reverse Flash. Reverse Flash goes back in time, kills Barry's mom, and alters Barry's history, basically. That's a retcon, because now Barry's mom has always been dead, always been killed when he was a kid.
Does that count as a true retcon, though? Because, it's actually part of the storyline.
So there's another part to this. The other part to this retcon is, as Ex-Kajeku brings up, is Barry creating the Speed Force. So the Speed Force is where speedsters get their power, but it's revealed through Flash Rebirth that Flash, through complicated story things, ends up running back in time to try and, basically, he's trying to make sure that the Flash will still exist. He's been fighting Reverse Flash through this, and he actually is the lightning that strikes himself.
Whoa.
So because he imbues himself with the Speed Force, Barry Allen is actually the generator of the entire Speed Force.
But I thought that it was all that science-y thing blowing up.
That's the TV show.
Okay.
That's the TV show's version of it. The comics are different.
So how accurate is the TV show?
I mean, like relatively in the broad strokes, but like they change things to suit the way their story goes and the way that world works. But yeah, so Barry actually becomes the source and like the generation of the entire Speed Force. That was the big retcon out of there.
That is amazing.
That's a mind breaker.
I mean,
he created his own superpower.
How does that even work? Like, you're talking about Back to the Future laws here, but like, how does that? How can you create something if you are?
I'm gonna drop a thing that I haven't said yet on the podcast, but this is like a very like famous thing to explain like weird things that can't be explained. Because Speed Force.
Is that a DC like?
It is so like ingrained in DC. If you get to a point in an argument where you can't keep it up, and you're just because Speed Force.
All right. Okay. Oh, because I mean, I feel like Barry can be like or at least the Flash can be responsible for so much bullshit within the DCEU.
Well, and we will eventually do a Speed Force episode or two because there's a lot in there, and the Speed Force is important to like the fabric of the multiverse.
It seems like it's like Batman and the Flash and Superman are like the three main.
Totally.
I feel like that Speed Force episode, if we do two of them, the second one will be the first one.
Oh. Maybe you should produce.
Oh,
sorry. But yeah, so that's a lot of people maybe took exception to
Sorry, there's Ravens losing their mind outside right now.
It's because they're also upset about this retcon. Some people take exception, and this was certainly the case on Reddit.
Continuity. Doesn't make sense.
It was definitely the case on Reddit
The
today.
racist
where
crows from Dumbo.
I don't like black people.
Damn it.
I gotta get one in every episode.
It was definitely the case on Reddit today that some people were upset with this particular retcon. Because Wally was their Flash. They didn't like that Barry came back.
Who's your Flash?
My Flash is Barry, but those are the comics I grew up on. I was reading like comics from the 60s and 70s.
Reading your dad's comics.
Yeah. So that Barry was always my Flash. And some people don't like it because the whole thing with Barry in the original sort of run was that his parents were alive. He was just like a happy guy who also got superpowers and became a superhero, which is kind of nice to not always have someone whose parents have been horrifically murdered or taken from them. So some people don't like it because it kind of robbed Barry of that a little bit and made him like a little bit like, I won't say vengeance obsessed because that's not it, but like it darkened him a little bit.
Did they do the whole dad in prison thing in the comics at all?
Yeah, so that's a thing now, and it never was before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's that one.
All right. Well, thanks, yeah, whatever. We're going to move right along. So, Gru Dragon, did you grow one? That's a question for you, my friend.
I put water on it and then it grew.
And it growed. It growed real big.
It grew. It did grow.
It got wings.
I growed it.
Growed it me myself. So he's saying, or she maybe, I don't know. This Redditor has to say,
don't assign sexuality to someone.
I'm not planning on it. That's why I moved right along. That's why I called them a Redditor.
That was good.
That's good.
Yeah, Redditor.
Redditress.
Reddit.
Spending a lot of time on this.
Redditor is saying, I'll go with Legion of Superheroes post-crisis in regards to Superboy's involvement.
Right.
$200.
It seems like there's a lot to unpack in these.
The Legion has another like super complicated history. So the Legion has come up before on this podcast. If you'll remember, Kon-El is a member of the Legion of Superheroes, and they are the 30th century like protectors of the United Planets. They're like a multi-planetary version of the Justice League in the far future. And isn't
that kind of like the Green Lantern though?
No, again, things I shouldn't get too deep into, but in the 30th century, the Green Lanterns are gone.
Whoa.
But the Legion of Superheroes kind of protects the United Planets. Now, before Crisis on Infinite Earths, there's a whole series called Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. So it follows Superman when he's young as Superboy. He's sent to the future and he is part of the Legion, and he like goes on all these adventures with them. And basically at the end of that, they send him back pretty much to the moment he left.
Weird.
And then his history continues.
Well, isn't that just super?
But after
Oh, I see what you did there.
But after Crisis on Infinite Earths, Superman was never Superboy, which puts the entire run of the Legion basically in like continuity peril. And so what happened is that all of those pre-Crisis storylines still existed, but how could they? It wouldn't make sense in canon. It was revealed much later that one of their foes, the Time Trapper, had created this like pocket timeline where they just existed. So they weren't like even like really in existence. They were just like tucked to the side.
Like he just was like, here's this little piece of time and you guys can exist.
Like a snow globe, right? Like
he trapped them in
the Time Trapper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Colin's confused again.
Go on. I want to hear it. I want to hear whatever's like on the brain right now.
Break it down.
Brain it down. Okay, so there's this whole Crisis nonsense thing happening, and within that stupid ball of stupidity, there's a even smaller one that they don't even realize that they're inside, but there's a bigger thing happening all around them, and the Crisis itself is only like the small marble in space of all the rest of this.
So Crisis was where the
I also like your Men in Black reference there. Like,
yeah. Oh, that was what that was. Yeah, that's right.
Nailed it.
So Crisis took Infinite Earths and basically destroyed them and merged the surviving 5 into one Earth. So it took like the whole idea of parallel universes and said, there aren't any, it's just the one. So then these like pocket dimensions started sprouting up to like save some continuity things. So they're technically not like other Earths. They're just like the snow globe analogy is, I think, the best one to the best way to put it.
It's like a wormhole.
Yeah, a little like it's its own little thing. It's not like a separate Earth. It's not like Earth 14 or something. It's just it's still in the new Earth
in time.
But it's just a pocket. So that's where they existed for a long time, and then after 0 Hour, that original timeline was erased and replaced with like a similar but not exact new one. And then like even I get confused by the Legion thing, because then there's something called the 3 Boot, and there's like a Legion of 3 Worlds. There's the Legion of Earth like 247 or something like that. There are some like real crazy things that happen with the Legion of Superheroes. And then like if we fast forward to the New 52, which was when DC like totally rebooted their line, started everything at issue number 1 again. The Legion of Superheroes comic, they're in the future, and like in that comic book they go like, holy shit, something changed in the past. Like they're still not changed over. Like
it hasn't affected them?
Yeah, if you like, I think you could make the story idea that like something has changed here. It's like a drop in the water, and then like the ripples kind of go out. It takes a while for like new time to set. So, but it's a little frustrating because the Legion is just always like an afterthought in these things.
Well, who's among the Legion?
Legion of Superheroes includes Cosmic Boy, who has like magnetism powers, Lightning Lad, who has
lightning. You're just naming off random things now.
Saturn Girl, who is a telepath.
These sounds like somebody from 1950s coming up with future characters.
That's exactly what it is.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Yeah,
you nailed it right on the head. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, because that sounds like the mid-century version of the future.
Brainiac 5, who's a descendant.
Tomorrowland, yeah.
A descendant of the Superman villain Brainiac, is like, he's good, and he's a member of the Legion.
And he's the 5th one?
Yeah. Brainiac 5. There you go.
There, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I mean, like technically speaking, those adventures with Superboy's involvement in the Legion of Superheroes were maintained in a pocket dimension by the Time Trapper until about 0 Hour, and then that history was technically erased and replaced with another one that bore some resemblance. I hope that helps.
Nope. Nope, not even a little bit. Moving on, this Redditor called Curious Orion is saying, it's not particularly frustrating for me. But then why would you even bother writing it? But I would imagine the New 52 would be up there. Well, yeah, duh. Let's move along. That one's just dumb.
Wait. You can't say, yeah, duh.
I just did,
like
and we're moving right along.
So
I feel like this is leading into a much bigger conversation.
It is. So like there are like the next few questions that we have are basically like all one thing, I think. And it leads out of this. So the New 52, I have talked about it. But
give an explanation of exactly what it is, because I think it's
if someone's just jumping into this podcast 4 episodes in, it's really hard to catch up.
Are you talking about you?
Yes. I listened to the third one today. It was good.
Colin's been sleep talking through the first few. He just woke up in the middle of me talking about 3-boot.
I'm just so happy to be doing a podcast with my friends Dr. DC and our good buddy Richard.
That's right.
Yeah, so the New 52. So Flashpoint, which I have talked about a lot. Barry goes back in time, saves his mom, shatters reality, and ultimately has to fix it. And when he does, when he stops himself from saving his mom, imagine how many flashes are showing up in the past. When he stops himself from saving his mom, something happens. Another force intervenes, merges a couple of other like realities together, and it changes the DC continuity. So Barry technically sets things back the way they were, but everything is different. That's the in-story thing. Out of story, DC Comics wanted to like basically make a jumping on point for new readers. And so
really, why would they need something like that?
Yeah, it's not like we've been talking about it. So they came up with this thing called the New 52. All of their publishing line, including like Action Comics and Detective Comics, which were in like issue 900s by this point, were canceled. And everything else started with number 1, and this was a brand new universe. That's what they said. This is a brand new universe. You can jump in. We're going to start from scratch.
So what does 52 represent?
So 52, there was a series called 52. It was like a weekly that counted down. So like there were 52 weeks in a year. But then that number just became like narratively important. Like when the multiverse was reborn, there were 52 Earths. It's just a number that keeps coming up.
Richard,
basically.
Stop counting on your fingers. It's 52 weeks.
No, I can get there. Just give me a minute.
You're at 3.
So my question first is they've introduced a lot of these really random concepts like of multiple Earths and things like that into television. Like it's working in Flash. Does that make you excited that people are willing to get down with that kind of concept? And
oh yeah, no, it's great. And I mean like. And the multiple Earths, they brought it back in Infinite Crisis. So like there had been multiple Earths for a long time leading up to this point. And then the New 52 was like new multiple Earths.
Yeah, so the reboot all
everything
of them.
Was new, is what they said. What ended up happening is that characters like Green Lantern and Batman basically picked up where they left off.
Really?
Yeah, but the confusing thing is that they made the timeline like that there had only been superheroes for about 5 years. So what that means is that the entire like what would have been in comic years, maybe like 20 years of history, was now 5 for some people, and then some characters like didn't exist yet. Like so it was hard to know what stories were canon, like what counted and what didn't. Like they made it, again, they tried to streamline it and they made it more confusing, basically.
So what you're saying is, so Batman just kind of kept doing his thing because, restarting where his parents got, that was going to be a tough one to start over from.
We've never seen that in a film. I've never seen Batman's parents get killed. I'm hoping that the next Batman film will explore this because I feel like the audience really wants to see it.
Yeah, I feel like he's got to have some sort of origin story.
Yeah, like one that we don't know because we've never seen it.
So again, this goes back to my earlier question. Do they not have like some sort of approval process for these comic books? Because like, why are they not filtering these out and going like, if you're going to write a story, it has to go through us?
They did do that, but it was just I don't know why they picked what they did to make it in. I wasn't in the room, if you could believe it.
I
maybe should be, but but what happened was like an event like Blackest Night was like a zombie story where all of these like characters that had been dead for decades in comics came back to life, and it introduced a bunch of other Green Lantern stuff like Black Lanterns and stuff. That was before the New 52. But then when the New 52 rolled around,
Black Lantern wouldn't really like give a lot of light.
when the Jesus, that's true.
I'm just saying.
Or it just
kind of like Black Lightning.
I was going to say it just shows like the CSIs where the semen is.
Gross. Kids hopefully aren't listening to this.
Oh yeah, we should put an explicit tag on this.
Too late for that.
Yeah, we say fuck a bunch in this one.
Yeah.
But then in the New 52, like Black Lanterns exist. So they don't reference the Blackest Night and like the minutia of that story, but the thing still exists. So it's implied that Blackest Night happened, but how could it? Because some of these characters haven't died yet to come back to life. Like it became this like Russian nesting doll of sort of confusing contradictions. And if I can lead into the other questions that we've got, no one got screwed over more by the New 52 than the sidekicks. Sidekicks, because of that compressed timeline, got like crazy altered stories.
We're talking Robin. We're talking super, all of the other supers.
Yeah, like
Super Robin, for instance.
oh my god, composite Robin.
Oh my god, that's super composite Robin to you.
That's right. Yeah, like
Sir.
I think we had some like specific things come up from people.
We've got some folks on Twitter that wanted to talk about the new 52 sidekicks.
They only had 140 characters though, so let's see what they did.
There was 152 sidekick characters.
That's 140 characters.
Oh, for
It's a Twitter
It's a
joke.
Twitter joke.
Oh, I don't tweet often enough, I guess. Most of the stuff I say is pretty quick. Like, anybody got ice cream?
Is that what you write on Twitter?
I don't know. I can't.
No wonder you don't tweet.
It's got 3 followers.
I don't tweet. At G_M_Richter from Twitter wants to know Kon-El, Superboy, his new 52 retcon was no good.
Yeah.
Or he wants you to know that, I guess. It's a statement, not a question.
No, I know
Did
it.
he run out of characters?
Yeah, that's what happened.
Hey, Richard, can you count those for me? Kon-El, Superboy.
One.
You're at 3 still. So
It takes me a while.
so Kon-El was the Superboy that kind of showed up in the 90s. He was cloned partially from Superman's DNA, but he also had like a human side to his DNA. It was Lex Luthor. So he's actually like the son.
What?
He's actually the son of both Superman and Lex Luthor.
Wait. Those are two guys.
Hold on. You can't.
He's cloned.
You can't just
Project Cadmus like made him in a lab.
Yeah, but I
like,
just don't think you
Superman
can-
and Lex like didn't like share a glass of port and like
things got a little weird.
no.
I don't know.
It's not like Junior. Yeah. So at any rate, Kon-El was, he was Superboy for a long time. And yeah, he was created by Project Cadmus. He was this clone. He thought he was Superman for a little bit, found out that he wasn't, but then he like became his own hero. In the New 52, he became, he was the clone of a son of Superman and Lois Lane's from a possible future who was evil and who had eradicated like metahumans. And
guy sounds like a dick.
and that just made 0 sense. And that Superboy just like they never really gave him a chance to develop as like a character. He didn't really have like a personality. The other one had a personality because he was this sort of like in the 90s he was just kind of rough and tumble, but he found this like group of friends with like the Teen Titans. Like he became his own hero and he had this sort of growth. And he didn't have that in the New 52, and they kind of robbed him of that. And that's true of a lot of characters, but yeah, that's kind of what happened with him, which is too bad. I much preferred him as the clone / son of Superman and Lex Luthor. That's the way that he appears in the show Young Justice, which is incredible. You should watch it.
When did that come out?
Young Justice? Oh, like years and years ago. Fans have been petitioning for a season 3 for like years. It's finally happening.
Is that like Teen Titans?
It's kind of
basically.
It's kind of like Rick and Morty.
It's
It's like a precursor to Teen Titans?
They kind of are the Teen Titans. But if I can just take a quick sidebar, if you haven't watched Young Justice, watch it because it is an amazing show. Super well written, dark when it needs to be, fun when it should be, and it explores every corner of the DC universe. Magic, cosmic, the New Gods, the Justice League. It's
What's the art style similar to?
It's I'm not sure actually what to compare the art style to. It's almost got its own look, but it's I guess more like some of those later Justice League like DVD movies that came out.
So like the post
something more like
Batman animated TV.
Yeah, more like Justice League Doom or something like that. Yeah.
I feel like we're kind of glossing over this whole Lex Luthor Superman thing.
You can't. I know. You can't take two guys' DNA and put it together. I mean, he's an alien, so maybe you can.
That's not my complaint.
It's comic book science. You could do anything.
That's
because Flashpoint.
Because Speed Force.
Yeah, that's the story. Because of Speed Force.
My curiosity is more so like imagine them at parent-teacher interviews, like the kids misbehaving a little bit.
I don't think they were like.
And Lex Luthor's like, well,
active
it's not
parents.
my fault he's evil, you know, like.
Although
that'd be amazing. That'd be a great show.
No, I agree.
You'd watch an episode at least.
Yeah.
I can't believe the number of times that I end up kind of on side with these mundane ideas, but I would totally watch like the sitcom where it's Soups and Lex.
That's right.
It's like 3 Men and a Baby, but it's just Superman and Lex.
Perfect strangers.
Soups and Lex raising a kid, and they didn't.
Which
have
one's
sex.
Balky?
It's 2.5
That was
men.
good. Okay, I'm impressed. You got that song.
It's just 2.5 men.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I'm still
One of them's literally half man because the other half's Kryptonian.
Hold on, but which one of them is
2.5 man?
And which one?
Okay.
I'm just saying.
We just created a great TV show.
Yeah, that was amazing. I think that's all I really have to say about.
Good job, Colin.
It's all I really have to say about Kon-El. I mean, like, if you want to read some like really good Superboy, read the stuff from like the 90s through the early 2000s. But New 52 Superboy just never had a chance.
So, that's too bad for Superboy.
And now he's kind of just like, I don't think he's technically dead. He's just written out. And the new Superboy is Superman's actual son, John Kent.
Ooh.
So there's a new Superboy. And the other Superboy is presumably just like out in the world. But who, like, they might like retcon him now as part of DC Rebirth to be more like the way he was before New 52. Or they might just write him out entirely.
Or they might make him evil, and he's like...
He's the pissed off stepson.
Yeah, he's like, what, because he's your son, he's going to be Superboy now? That's not fair.
You get a new family, and suddenly you don't care about me anymore?
He goes and hangs out with Lex Luthor.
Cats in the cradle and the silver spoon.
Oh, totally.
That's the editor's note in every panel of that comic. It's just like, play Cats in the Cradle in your head while you read this. Yeah.
As he walks off into the stormy night.
Pitch it. Let's see what DC will take.
We're lobbing it up to them right now. I feel like anytime we talk about these like mundane ideas, it really could be taken and ran with by anyone.
One of these days, we're gonna get one of these execs in this room, and it's over.
When we have like Dan DiDio or like Jim Lee in here, and we pitch this, we'll have to lock the door.
Oh my god!
they will run away from.
Yeah,
how
exactly.
Dumb we are. Back to Twitter, or still on Twitter, at Sorta Professio 2. Oh, at least you're, honest.
Sort of Professio 2. I love that he's not even the first sort of Professio.
Sorta. Yeah, there's two of them. His first one got hacked. Or her.
I should just say that the Sort of Professional have been like super nice, supportive Twitter followers, but that is really funny.
That's awesome. You know what, though? This person went out there, saw that Sort of Professio wasn't taken, and was just like, just in case.
Well, and Sort of Professio 1 was also taken.
Yeah, that's true. So it's technically the third sort of Professio.
Yeah. Good math.
You know what they say about third times?
I know. I see. When it's in threes, I get it.
Threes, all over the place. So, Sort of Professio 2's got to say, how about the Robins in the New 52? Doesn't seem much thought was put into that.
Yeah, so I talked about the time crunch, that like all of that history became 5 years. So if you imagine that Batman becomes Batman at around like 21, 22, and then he's been Batman for 5 years. Somewhere in that time, he has to meet Ra's al Ghul and then meet Talia al Ghul, and then they have that night together, and then Talia has a son, Damian Wayne, who becomes Robin. Damian Wayne exists and is like 9 or 10 years old at the start of the New 52, which makes bonkers math. It doesn't make any sense.
Has he been like Robin that whole time then?
Well, no. All of the other Robins still exist. So in 5 years, Batman has trained Dick Grayson and he went on to do his own thing. Jason Todd was killed. Tim Drake came in and did his own thing. And then he found out he had a son and then made him Robin.
Within 5 years.
Within 5 years.
But he's But he's 10 years old.
Yeah, Damian Wayne.
Yeah,
like 9, 10, something like that.
So did he found out that he got some girl pregnant?
Yeah. So even in like the pre-New 52, Batman like didn't know he had a son until later.
Who's the mama?
Talia al Ghul. So Damian was raised by the League of Assassins. So he's this like really grim, violent Robin, which is kind of amazing. But yeah, it didn't make any sense.
You merely adopted the dark. I was born into it.
Molded by it.
Man, Batman's turnover rate is shit.
Well, yeah, I mean,
he must be a terrible boss.
I mean, if you could make a compelling argument before that, like Batman shouldn't have like children fighting crime, you could really make that argument in the New 52.
That's just child labor laws.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's why. Maybe it's just like the Hollywood where you can only have him working for a certain amount of hours, so he's just gonna keep pumping them out.
He discreetly pays off the Joker to deal with Jason. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, it compresses all of those things. It definitely throws off the math. But what it also does is it robs all of those characters of those years of development. Like Dick Grayson was Robin for years, and then he was Robin with the Teen Titans, so he was kind of moving off on his own. And then during the Judas contract, he became Nightwing. He took up his own superhero mantle. And then he spent years as Nightwing, and he was the protector of Bloodhaven, the sort of sister city to Gotham. And then he became Batman when Batman died in Final Crisis, which again is referenced in the New 52, even though technically Final Crisis didn't happen. It's another one of those things that they didn't really clear up. Yeah, so you rob, and that's just the one Robin. You rob like the history of those characters when you compress the time. So all of those Robins got a bad shake.
So have any of the like DC execs like gone on like record to be like, yeah, we know we fucked up?
Not quite like that, but technically yes. What's happening right now in the comics is something called DC Rebirth, where they've revealed that when the Flashpoint happened and the New 52 universe was created.
So they're doing Flashpoint again?
No. They're saying when it happened.
Oh, okay.
Someone else messed with it. Took like 10 years out of their lives.
Oh, this is where you were referring to the previous episode.
Dr. Manhattan.
Dr. Manhattan. There.
Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen.
I'm following along.
He's a real doctor.
Is the one that's
he did some surgery.
He's the one that's taken like those years of
blue dick.
Those years of legacy away. Yeah, the blue dick. Yeah. That's going to be the shot, like it'll just be up in the sky rips open. The first thing you'll see is the dick comes in. And then
I know who that is.
Be like, oh, we're fucked. No,
like, yeah,
obvious joke. Yeah.
It's okay. I'm okay with obvious jokes.
But so they, that's how they're narratively explaining what happened, is that basically Dr. Manhattan is the one that that sort of artificially compressed time, robbed their memories, took those years, took that experience from them. So it's playing out pretty well right now because it's kind of restoring the things that people have missed in the New 52, and it's going really well so far. Like it's actually been pretty good storytelling. So they are kind of correcting it. No one's come out and said like, we fucked up, but they have come out and said like, we hear that you're angry. Here's what we can do.
So are they like, do you think that they're going to be resetting everything?
They're not resetting. They're like, basically they're merging canon.
So it's saying that what happened before is still valid.
Yep. And what's happened since is also valid. And in places where it kind of conflicts, you'll see one narrative kind of emerge over time. It'll depend like who references what.
They're just like a terrible parent. They're like, we're not going to say we're wrong, but hey, look at the shiny little thing over here.
Is that what parents do?
I don't know.
I've never had a kid.
I didn't have parents. So.
I was going to say, I'm like, Colin, do you have something to tell us?
I don't have parents.
You do love shiny things, though.
I do love shiny things.
Yeah. Hey, Colin, look.
Ah, dick.
Big, shiny blue dick.
Big, shiny blue dick in the sky.
Now you're on the you're on the dick train.
Oh, no.
Gross.
Come on, ride that train.
Gross.
Let's ride it.
Oh, I had Midnight Train to Georgia for some reason in my...
You're on the big blue train to Georgia.
Yeah. Leaving on that big blue dick.
To Georgia.
Choo-choo.
Choo-choo. This is like a really bad episode of Soul Train with two white guys.
That makes the worst episode of Soul Train, I think, by definition.
Yeah.
So there you go, Sort of Professio 2. Thanks for coming out. Seems like too much thought was just put into that by us.
by us, sometimes not enough thought by the people writing them, and then sometimes too much thought by the people trying to correct it.
So we're going back to our favorite friends on the internet, the Redditors, the Redditonians. I'm going to come up with a good one for this over time.
I think Redditor is already the word.
Is it? I'm going to go with
A
Redditonians.
terrible term, I think.
Redditor?
Because some of them are not edited.
Sounds like a villain. The Redditor. So this one, just to get back on the whole new 52 side.
Yes.
Oh, God. So Sweet Tsubaki is saying Bart Allen.
Sweet
Yeah.
Tsubaki.
We might as well do both of these at the same
Do it
time.
both at the same
I think.
time?
Yeah.
Well, Sweet Tsubaki and Felipe 1991. You guys are getting done at the same time.
1991.
That was like a bad French.
Ondale, Felipe.
Still a little bit
Mexican?
Canadian.
No, it's Mexican.
And my name is Felipe, 1991.
We're getting further from it.
And I'm
And I've got to say, Donna Troy.
so Bart Allen and Donna Troy. Let's do this thing.
Sure. So we've
About Alan and Donna Troy.
Jesus.
He's just saying phonetics now.
So
I just say about Alan.
so sad on making that voice.
Yes,
We've talked about Kon-El as Superboy, who is obviously Superman's protege. We've talked about the Robins, who are obviously Batman's proteges. Two other big ones are Bart Allen, who was a protege of the Flash, and Donna Troy, who was Wonder Woman's
I don't
protege.
even think Bart Allen has come even up in the TV show yet.
No,
Bart
not at all.
Allen sounds like a bad comedian.
So if you'll remember, I
Would
mentioned
not pay money for that
It's
show.
Tim Allen's son.
no, he says that's his brother.
It's his neighbor with just the same last name.
He's the guy that keeps breaking all the things that Tim Taylor has to fix. So Bart Allen, you'll remember from earlier, I said that Barry Allen was the Flash. Wally West was Kid Flash. He was his sidekick. Barry died. Wally became the Flash. And then later on, Bart Allen, who is one of Barry's descendants from the future, gets Speed Force powers, comes back in time, and he's Impulse for a little bit. That's his superhero name. And then he becomes Kid Flash. And then he becomes the Flash for a very brief time before he's killed. And then in the New 52, what happened? Wait, before I get into the New 52, Colin's giving me the face. I want to hear what's happening.
So hold on. Bart Allen is from before Barry Allen?
No, the future. He's a descendant, not an ancestor.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking like, how did he become Kid Flash if he's, Flash Senior?
Yeah, no.
They call him the Fizzle now. Uncle Fizzle.
Yeah, he's like a long descendant. But at any rate, he became the Flash for a little bit before he was killed by the Rogues. And then in the New 52, Bart Allen is just Kid Flash. And there's no Wally for a long time. They fixed that now, but it was basically just Barry and Bart, which didn't make any sense.
Barry, Bart, and Bort.
Yeah, my son is also named Bort.
What kind of name is Bort?
Yeah. So Bart Allen, though, in the New 52...
You had a Bort too.
Yeah.
Bart Allen in the New 52, though, is not related to Barry. They revealed that he's he's from the future still, but he's in the witness protection program, which means that they wiped his memories and sent him back in time. But he had speed.
Went back in time.
Yeah. But he still had Speed Force powers.
It's exactly like that.
Yeah.
His name is Torr.
Bartor.
Yeah, that's like
he wasn't going to put that together.
that's a writer being like, what's a future name? So he's like totally not Bart Allen. And that really, I think, pissed off Flash fans, because not only was there no Wally anywhere to be seen in the New 52 for years, but then this Bart Allen wasn't Bart Allen. He was something else entirely, and he was kind of mean, and he wasn't the fun he wasn't the fun energy that a Flash sidekick always is.
Yeah, well, Bartor doesn't sound like a good time.
No, and he wasn't at all. Now Wally West is back and Bart is gone. But I'm hoping that we'll see the actual Bart show up in future. And with the way that Rebirth is going, that wouldn't surprise me. Donna Troy is the original Wonder Girl, Wonder Woman's sidekick.
Sounds like a 90s pop singer.
Yeah, or I keep
Go
thinking
way further back, man.
I keep thinking Donatello.
Like
the Ninja Turtle.
No, Donna Troy. She
Not the
shows up
artist.
in the 60s. I'm pretty sure she's part of the Teen Titans. But her origin was originally that she was made with basically with like Amazon magic, to be like a companion for Wonder Woman and things like that. So she's still like an Amazon. She has
Is that connected to Wonder Woman?
yeah. So she has like Amazonian ancestry and powers and things like that. Things have happened like pre or post crisis rather, where she retained like memories of the versions of her from the extinguished Infinite Earths. Like she had lots of weird stuff happen to her for a long time, but then in the New 52, she again didn't exist for years and years. And when they brought her in, she was like made by this faction of Amazons that basically wanted to like depose Wonder Woman. She was like made as a weapon to fight Wonder Woman.
Whoa.
And then when Rebirth happened and they were saying like, no, like you were part of the Titans and she has this history with like Nightwing and like all these other characters, they all of a sudden, everyone just remembered her like she had been around the whole time. And then it's like been further revealed that all of her memories and everything have been implanted, and that she was in fact just the weapon that we saw before. So like they messed it up. They made her just kind of just like vacant weapon. They could have fixed it by just ignoring it basically and just saying like, no, she's been around the whole time. Let's just forget that we messed that up. And then they went back and said like, no, we're doubling down. You're a weapon and those memories are fake. So it's too bad because Donna Troy has a very like a long and interesting history. She's been like a multiversal protector. Like she'll go to other Earths and fight and defend and things like that. She's a great character. Just often kind of shit on.
What's her name? Like super name?
Donna Troy. She has gone by Troya before, and for a little bit she was Wonder Woman, like pre-New 52.
I was gonna say because like that's not a great superhero name.
But
or one of the best superhero names of all time because no one knows that you're a superhero. And she was a weapon, so even better.
Yep.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Who do you suspect? Not the butterfly.
Yep. And fun
or the Donna Troy.
Fun fact for the listeners at home: all of your memories are implanted. You were all created as weapons.
Memories all alone in the
implanted.
Well, thanks for coming out to our fun podcast thing that we do.
We went through so much today.
We just killed Retcon in like not that long. Okay.
That was a marathon. That was amazing. Thank you everyone for like submitting suggestions.
And next time, hopefully, we'll have a little bit more activity on Facebook than we did on Reddit and Twitter.
Reddit and Twitter are kind of like the quick like fire jams. It's amazing.
Fire jams.
Yeah.
Well, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns as to this latest episode, please don't hesitate to contact us through our email account, which is
drdcpodcast@gmail.com.
On Twitter at
DrDC.
Or on Facebook.
Dr. DC Podcast.
Or when we put up something on Reddit that
you'll just see a question that sounds like we're asking for questions.
Sometimes it'll be for one of our random accounts. Sometimes it'll link back to our account, our iTunes account.
Sometimes we'll remember to do like proper marketing, and sometimes I'll just put a question up and like take your name later. Yeah, and you don't just have to send in concerns. If you have like actual questions you want me to answer, send those too.
Send concerns.
Also, remember to rate, review, and subscribe.
Yeah. If you're listening on iTunes or Google Play, please do that. It helps us out a lot. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, some kind of sign off.
Later, dorks.
Aquaman, all the superheroes. They always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure.